Coaches, welcome to week 3. Thank you so much for all the coaches that joined us for the webinar this Sunday night. We really enjoyed that. Tyler and I talked defense with you. Tyler went over the lock left defense. We talked about defensive drills, transition defense, zone defense. It was just really good to be on with all you coaches. I had over 200 coaches in attendance, and I always enjoy talking basketball and supporting you. This week we've got a lot to get to, so we're going to go ahead and jump right in. I'm going to give you our great workout here in just a second, but before I do that, let me just give you our TeamSnap thought of the week. What right now is causing paralysis by analysis? I know we've all heard that before, but as a coach, it's a really good thing to dive into. What things are causing paralysis by analysis in your own coaching? What things are making you overthink? What things are you spending too much time on that are making you kind of freeze and you're not able to move on to the next thing? You're over-analyzing it. You don't need that level of stress because you're not going to perform as good as you can as a coach, and I think it'll flow over into your players. So you want to stay away from getting in that paralysis because you're over-analyzing things. Sometimes you just got to go for it and just learn from those mistakes, and it's really important to make sure you analyze that within your players. What things are you doing on the court right now that when you look out there, my players are overthinking. They do have a little bit of paralysis by analysis. Maybe you need to cut back. Maybe you put too much in their cup. And it's overflowing right now, and they can't really handle what's coming. And a lot of times that's what happens with young players. I know we're seeing that in our freshmen right now. And as we gear up for a game, how do we get them back to that place of just playing fast and confident, not overanalyzing things? So I think it's really good to take inventory of that, coaching yourself. What's paralysis by analysis? And for your players, where is that happening as well? If you can get rid of that, I think your team and you'll coach better and your team will play better. So we're going to jump right into the gray workout. And the gray workout right here, we have 5 different offensive workouts, 5 different defensive workouts, and they're all different colors. We're going to give you a look into the gray workout, which is basically working on our form, the things that we would do throughout a possession. And then we jump right into playing a little one-on-one at the end. We're trying to build something through all 3 parts that make us a better defensive team. So for instance, we would use the gray workout like maybe every Tuesday, Thursday, and the green workout every Monday, Wednesday, and the yellow workout just on Fridays. But we have 5 different workouts to make sure we're hitting home the things that are most important to us. So let's go ahead and take a look at that, and then we'll come back in just a second, and I'll give you a basketball thought for the week. Okay, coaches, we're going to go over our gray defensive workout here, and it's a series of drills put together. The first is close and contest. So we have them at their baskets of 4, and you can see it going on at multiple different baskets here, but they're closing out in 5 spots, and they're closing, then they're contesting, they're turning, and they're hitting their box out, and they're going to walk back into the lane, and they're going to explode back into their closeout and contest, turn around, and box. We're just working on form here, making sure we're getting good closeouts every single time. Then we will progress. They'll go around the horn again and close and bounce. So now they are closing, and then they're bouncing back and taking away the dribble. So let's say this is a driver. They need to contain, can't stay chest to chest with somebody. So now they're working on bouncing back a little bit, taking away the initial rhythm shot, the rhythm 3. Those are the ones that usually hurt you the most, and now they're worried about containing the dribble, which is one of the hardest things to do in basketball. So we're trying to create a little bit of space there. Then they'll move to just going to 2 spots, and you'll see close and saw. So they're going to close out, and then they're going to imagine somebody's driving. They're going to saw off the angle. They're not going to give up the baseline right there, and they're going to go do that on 2 sides. They're going to do it up one side and up back down the other. They're closing, they're sawing off the angle, trying to not let the player get a straight line drive. Straight line drives will beat you. Then we're going to progress to close and run. So this is when you close out really hard and somebody, on a shooter, and they just put the ball on the floor and they beat you. Now you got to run back into play, whether you're doubling or whether you're trying to beat them to a spot. But we're trying to run and get back into the play right there. So not just to give up on the play just because we got beat. So they're going to close and they're going to run and try and beat the defender to a spot. They're still in their 4-man groups the entire time. Now we go to the possession D, so they're going to work through a possession the entire time. So they got to close out, they bounce right there, then they get a back door that they take away, then they got to work their way back up the line, then they get a speed dribble where they get back door, then we got to front the post right here, then they got to get to the help side, then they got to step over and give help, then they're going to skip it over there when they get back to the help, and now they're going to work on trying to saw off the angle right there. So they're going through multiple things in one possession. And then finally, the third part of this is just one-on-one. They're just going with a short close, and they're working on getting better one-on-one defensively. A lot of times we don't do enough of this. Just get competitive. You're trying to hold your standards, whether it's force middle, force baseline, but they're just working on getting tougher on the defensive end and just grinding out one-on-one stops. And it's a really simple drill, but we probably don't do enough of it. So there's the progression of closeouts to getting up to hold possession and then breaking it back down to one-on-one and get better defensively. That's our gray defensive workout. Coaches, hope you enjoyed the gray workout. We will try and share as many of those workouts as we can, but it's just an idea for you to put workouts together. Like when we go to our gray workout, our players know, hey, we're getting better in closeouts. We're getting these 17 closeouts in, then we're jumping into a full possession, make sure we're thinking all the way through a possession, and then we're just going to compete a little bit with that one-on-one part there at the end. Now I got a basketball thought for you this week, and I brought out my friends, the buckets, the blue and white bucket. We also have a red bucket. We bring them out to practice, and there's a red team, a blue team, and a white team. We just got these at Home Depot and painted them that color. But these are the turnover buckets. We wanted to give them a visual of taking care of the basketball. We know how important it is to take care of the basketball. And every time there's a turnover, we wanted to see one of these balls drop into the bucket. We want our players to resonate like, man, I dropped the ball's in the bucket. So there's a little bit more pressure on them. And pressure sometimes seems like a bad word, but it's really not. The more pressure we put them on practice, the more likely they are to perform in a game. So we want to put some pressure on them. And we want them not to want to see the ball drop in the bucket. And depending on how much we're playing, we put a limit on it. So if we're playing 20 minutes of 4-on-4 or 5-on-5 that day, then maybe the turnover limit per team is 3. And if we're playing 40 minutes, maybe it's 5. And if we're only playing 10 minutes, maybe it's 2 or 1, whatever it might be. But we always try and put a number of low turnovers per minute played in practice to make sure that they're conscious of taking care of it. And then there's usually a consequence. At the end, if you have 4 balls in your bucket and the maximum was 3, maybe it's 20 push-ups or whatever it might be. But we want to remind them how important it is to take care of the ball. So something you might want to think about in your own practices: what are you doing to let your players know that you value them valuing the basketball? So that's our basketball thought for the week, coaches, and thanks for joining us. Join us for the webinar this upcoming week, and then we'll see you back again in 2 weeks.